So I think in any battle of wits, I think the foreign players are testing that can we kind of get government to go back on it.
Has accepted about 20%, but for 30% there is, as you said, that they are in fact waiting to see who will bring.
It's just a battle of wits is what I think.
Absolutely. Now let's talk about another story, which is about the Maruti's Manesar plant. We have seen a lot of action on that plant, but now the Maruti has threatened that it might just shut down the Manesar plant because it faces about 500 crore losses worth 500 crore on other issues.
Yeah, unfortunately, the Maruti's Manesar plant has been, at the end of a lot of controversy now. We've had labor problems and now we've had this. And I think this is basically linked to the issue of land acquisition in this country. I think land acquisition has always been very contentious. And I think farmers particularly need to be told, and it needs to be explained to them that prices are a function of a particular point of time. So if at a particular point of time the price of land was X, then subsequently maybe 20 years later it may be 20 times X, but you cannot demand a higher price. Once the deal is done, you cannot go back, and certainly for industry it will be very difficult if there constantly demands to increase the competition. You cannot keep going back and turning the pages back. And if you do this, and if ultimately Maruti decides that they're going to exit from Manesar, exit from Haryana, then the Haryana government and the people of Haryana, the labourers, the employees will lose out. So I think this is a case for the state government to step in and tell the farmers or whoever is asking for more compensation that unless you can establish that there was an unfair deal at the time of the original acquisition, there is no case now for demanding higher compensation. I think this message needs to be sent across very clearly, and here state governments necessarily must play a role, because otherwise the loss will be at a larger level. It will be at a larger scale. The entire state will lose out. We've already seen Maruti shifting base, as it were, to Gujarat. Now it will be the case of Gujarat's gain and Haryana's loss if they decide to close the Manesar plant completely. True. Maruti will lose certainly, but so will Haryana, and I think that message needs to go home.
Okay. Very quickly on one big story, in fact, which almost every newspaper today is talking about, that is the decline in the poverty levels. There are different, in fact, in the business dailies today are talking about the skepticism on the estimates too. But what does it really say about of course the poverty structure and the right-based schemes which this particular government had been talking about? What exactly is your understanding of
Shalini, on a lighter way, economists are always supposed to say on the one hand, but when they're really not, because what you're doing is that there's a difference between giving a man a fish a day and teaching him how to fish. So in this process, what we're doing, the rights-based system, we're constantly giving him that fish a day. We're not teaching him how to fish. Whereas really the solution to end poverty is to create employment. And there, if you look at it, our numbers are not happy at all. So I think this entire message is likely to be misread by government to think that this is a vindication of our present policies, when actually it is not. We need growth and we need employment. It's not giving people food every day, giving them education. You just promise them right to education. What has it meant? There are no schools, there are no teachers. Food security, yes, nobody will argue that you don't need to ensure that no Indian goes hungry to bed. But at the end of the day, do we have the mechanism to ensure it? You're talking about poverty of 22%, but we want to provide food to 67%. So is there a contradiction? If a person is not poor, why are we talking about food security? So I think there are a lot of issues, and one cannot really say it's good or bad. There is a one hand and the other hand to this issue at least.
Okay. On that note, we'll thank you, Ms. Maithili Husnumar, but thanks a lot for coming here and sharing your views with us. We'll take a very quick break in perspective, and after the break, we'll analyze all the sports-related news stories. Please stay with us.